Namaskar, good morning to you all. On behalf of Government of Goa and the State Commissioner for Persons with Disability, Goa, I extend a warm welcome to all the state commissioners who have come from the different parts of our country. The Honorable former Chief Justice Shri Yu Lalit Ji. We have amongst us Mr. Rahul Bajaj, co-founder of Mission Accessibility, Advocate Amar Jai, co-founder, Turab Chimutwala, and all distinguished guests in the audience on the stage, and my dear press and my dear friends. We have organized the International Purple Fest here in Panjim, and there are different venues all across. You know, at this same time, we have at least 10 places or different activities related to Divyangans to make their life dignified, to provide them all accessibility, to feel that inclusive kind of all activities that are performing. Right now, I was with Honorable Chief Minister, and there are many ministers who are engaged in at a different venues, because this International Purple Festival is so big. It is on a very high scale which is happening here. We have organized this in order to empower all our Divyangjans in their education, in their social life, in their economic activities, in their employment or placements. There are several conventions which are happening simultaneously at different venues to discuss. We have 21 disabilities, or we may say 22, which is the new disability has come in picture but not notified. We have all across 30 conventions running parallelly to discuss about each one of the disability, the hardships that they face, the problems they encounter, the what you call that, whatever, in order to give good or strong policy for the Divyangjans, in order to formulate or enact the acts which will protect the interest of our Divyangjans, in order to recommend or adopt to the best of the policies in the world. The Honorable ex-CJI said that 20 or 30 years back, what was there in the developed countries, we see to it now, it is in progress in this country. It has taken a long, from 1970 to this, I would say 50 years, we are behind as compared to the the internationally developed countries. But the process has begun, and this International Purple Fest, we have called all the people who are into this internationally. They are participating, and we will see that what they have formulated, the acts, the policies, and the practices followed in those countries, we will adopt to it.
Distinguished persons who are present here, the commissioners from various states who have gathered here. Right in the beginning, I must congratulate the organizers for organizing such a beautiful event. I have retired as a Chief Justice, so therefore in my entire life I had never seen an event like this. My first brush with somebody with a disability was when I was in 9th standard. Naturally, children normally are sort of, live in compartments. So therefore, for them, the locality where they live in, the schools that they go to, they become separate compartments. And my first brush was when my school had organized, when I was in 9th standard, a tie-up with a blind school in Bombay, and where some of us were asked to be the writers in their annual examination when they were appearing at the board exams. That's when what I thought was, in those days, this is what I'm saying in sometime in 70s, the duration of the examination was identical for everyone, whether you are with disability or not with a disability. And the exam papers had to be written in hand, which perhaps I think those blind students were not quite, used to that. So therefore we were acting as writers. We would narrate the question, they would give us answers, and in that process there was always a gap, a time gap. And what I felt in those days, way back, this was in early 70s, that perhaps I think we should have a longer duration for such persons to write their examination papers. And this is exactly what the last judgment of the Supreme Court now acknowledges, that yes, we must have at least 1 hour specially given to them by way of an extra chance. And that's essentially what you can call it to be an affirmative action at every juncture. My second brush was when I was in law college. My professor was a blind person, Professor Vadegavkar, who taught us company law. And I must say that it used to be such a fascinating experience. The man knew everything about company law. So it was not as if that he had mucked up the lectures and he would just narrate everything before the class. Ask any problem and he would be ready with a solution. So that was such a brilliant exposition which I saw. Then third, and I must say that about 25 years back when I first visited US, I could see almost every public building which was accessible to wheelchair persons. And naturally one would compare with the infrastructure which was then prevailing in this country. Even Supreme Court of India did not have that accessibility for wheelchair persons in those days. So I inquired and I came to know that Franklin D. Roosevelt, their own president, used to be on a wheelchair. And therefore the greatest awareness which perhaps as a country they had. And now we see the changing scenario. I must also tell you that my wife runs a school it's a Montessori school for tiny tots. And she runs an inclusive setup where children with autistic children who are challenged physically, mentally, in a class normally of 20 students, there are at least 2 who are such challenged persons. And she believes in this idea that if you put them in the company of normal children, then the peer pressure is such that they start picking up quite faster. And then compare it with our Right to Education Act and the appropriate amendments or appropriate provisions in the Disabilities Act. 6 to 14 is the age bracket for normal children where compulsory education is to be given. The Disabilities Act speaks of 6 to 18, 4 years of handicap given to those children. But what happens to children below 6? That is something which has not been touched upon and not covered. And that's where such inclusive setups will certainly cater to the demands, requirements of this special children. So therefore, as a citizen, every time you have a brush with such situations, but you keep wondering, what are we doing as a society? And this kind of awareness, this kind of, the flame to be taken to every nook and corner of the country is something which will be the hallmark of, achievements of a convention or a festival like this. That is exactly why this festival assumes greater significance, greater importance. This is for the first time that there would be a dialogue amongst all the stakeholders. The stakeholders would not be divorced from reality, they would be those persons who have interaction with these problems which occur day to day. There are participants also, so therefore that gives you the additional dimension. And this is a festival, to my mind, is a brilliant idea. And I must congratulate the organizers for having this kind of festival. All my best wishes to this festival, all those participants, and to the organizers. 3 cheers to them.